Okay, I think we are all ready. Really excited to get to our second panel, which is called Game Changers, Innovations and Trends in Para Sports. And I would love to welcome our amazing speakers to the panel number 2. So I'll start with Annie. Welcome, Annie. Annie is a colleague. An international non-profit initiative of ETH Zurich University that promotes the development of practical assistive technologies and raises awareness for inclusion through competitions in 8 disciplines. Annie is responsible for project strategy, communication and production content, coordination with participating research teams and education and outreach programs called Cybathlon School and Cybathlon Work. Welcome, Annie. And I would love to invite our second speaker, Eric. Eric is a founder. Eric is the founder and owner of the European Para Championships, a multi-sport event with impact for para athletes. He has been involved in organizing sport events since 1998, when he established his company called Team TOC, which specializes in creating and managing various groundbreaking sport events with social impact. Welcome, Eric. And the next speaker is Sofia. A Paralympic athlete and advocate for inclusion and homes expert. And our fourth speaker is Todd. Welcome, Todd. Todd is a paracycling manager at UCI. He has 15 years experience in international sport management with experience at the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee, International Paralympic Committee and the UCI. He has worked to drive change in para sport, producing record participation, commercial partnerships and media coverage. So really excited to have our amazing speakers today, and I would love to give a bit of context to our second panel. So 1 in 5 people live with a disability, yet too often their stories remain untold and their sporting achievements underrepresented. But change is happening. The most recent Paralympic Games reached over 1 billion viewers across TV and streaming platforms worldwide, showing just how powerful and far-reaching para sport can be. On Instagram, para sport content saw an average 15% engagement rate, which is actually really big for social media, and more than 3 times the industry standard, driven by young, digitally engaged audiences who are hungry for something more real and more inclusive. With the right storytelling and strategy, para sport isn't just about inclusion, it's about business opportunity as well. Inclusive campaigns deliver 23% stronger recall and 21% higher purchase intent. And 64%, so more than half of Gen Z, say that they are more likely to buy from brands that show diversity in their ads. Pretty compelling statistic, isn't it? And in this panel, we explore how shifting the narrative, embracing innovation, and unlocking commercial investment can help para sport claim the spotlight it has always deserved. So, let's start with the first question. And I think it is one of the most interesting ones because para sport is developing pretty fast. So our amazing experts will have their own views on what trends are right now you are seeing in para sports from your own perspectives. Would you like to share?
Yeah, so from the IF side, I think that we're seeing a lot of professionalism starting to happen in para sport. And so clearly there's more money coming in, but it's where that money's coming in is kind of the interesting thing, I think. So we're seeing a lot of Olympic committees, Paralympic committees starting to partner up as one now, and their development starts to mean equality in the funding that's coming out, especially at the highest level at the Paralympic Games, sometimes trickling down to World Championships in other areas from there. And so that leads to certainly more professionalism in the teams overall. So we're seeing there's no difference in the bikes that are coming from British cycling, for example, for the para athletes or the non-para athletes, which cost crazy amounts of money, upwards of 100,000 euros in some situations. We're seeing the prize money, we're seeing the resources, we're seeing the coaches being paid the same, the bonuses for medals being paid the same. And so that, of course, is a huge step up and a positive for the sport, but sometimes as a federation we also struggle to keep up with that because our resources can sometimes be limited as well too. And so it's generally a positive thing, but it's a challenge for everybody to balance that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always compare in the Netherlands parasport with women's soccer. I mean, I think 12, 15 years ago, women's soccer was really small. And if you look at it now, it's great sport. It was already a great sport. But I think media came in and you see a lot of young children, young girls playing soccer. And we always compare parasport with women's soccer, so I think in the future, parasport will develop and will be stronger than ever, especially with the new teams, with ESG coming in. I think for big companies, they need to do something. So yeah, we see a great future for parasport, and it's already great.
Thank you so much. Annie, would you like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a parasport expert, but I can speak for the technology side, which I think is very interesting in a trend in parasport. So then you see ETH Zurich, so Florina Ricklin, she had I don't know the English word for Lenka, but she had ETH master student preparing a part for her bike, so she really was very successful because of this. Then we had Marcel Runk with his wheelchair, which was developed for him at youth. Sofia, you took part in Cyclone in 2019 with your auto-rockford daily prosthesis, but you also said that technology is extremely important for Paralympic, and I think that is very interesting for able-bodied audience, also like for disabled people, because it has a very fascinating touch how the body and the technology works together.
Thank you very much. Sofia, would you like to?
Yeah, for me, what's really important is obviously the new generation and the development of everything, and we have seen huge impact, obviously, since the Tokyo 2021 games for me, and even for the London 2012, where I was there actually. I've seen a huge difference in media and TV broadcasting, and also in the aspect of how we're considered as para-athletes. Before people didn't even know about us, so I think that's a huge accomplishment that we have a position and we're here and we're able to present ourselves with Federation accompanying us and helping us through that. There's still progress, of course. We could always do better in any sport, but I think it's going upwards for sure.
Thank you very much. And we're moving on, and actually it would be really interesting to know your perspective, Sofia, on the next question. What narratives we're seeing right now in parasports, and how do you think they should be changed? If they should be?
Yeah, the narratives in parasport, obviously every 4 years we're here. Basically, it's like in between the 4 years we're kind of like sleeping, and then during the Paralympics there's sports that obviously like boccia or other sports that are not on the spotlight. I'm lucky that athletics obviously is kind of one of the big fives up there. So the next narratives I would say would be really to focusing on media. Social media, I do it for myself and I see a real impact on people, on the young generations. I have a lot of like sometimes young people reaching out to me for like their thesis in like high school, which I think is really interesting, because before like I would have never imagined being a role model or being like asked to do that for like prosthetic legs, or how we can compare, for example, Olympics to the Paralympics, the impact on it, on young people or on the society. And yeah, so I think that's really important to keep in mind, that we're here and federations are here to help us.
Thank you very much. So what do you think should be changed or help?
Well, I mean, I think with the narratives you're seeing inclusivity become more clear. At the UCI, we've been working to try to do some inclusive events over the past, and so we had our championships in Glasgow in 2023, which included all of our more or less key championships for cycling as a whole there. It included paracycling track and paracycling road for the first time. And that, of course, was a huge boost to the para aspect of cycling, because we got opportunities to be on the BBC, to be on many other channels around the world that we didn't always have. And then that carried over to 2024, when we also had our championships in Zurich as inclusive. For the first time ever of our main UCI event, which is the Road World Championships, including the Para Road World Championships for the first time. And with that was increased broadcast, increased media, increased exposure, which we hope to carry on for the future. And we're moving back again to a single sport championship just for the year after the games, and we believe that media exposure is going to continue from there in a really positive way for the sport of cycling, for our para athletes, for everybody.
Thank you very much. Eric, have you seen any changes in the narratives over all those years you've been involved with para sports, and do you think something should be changed again? Or,
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that the result for us was the European Para Championships. And I don't know if you guys know what the European Para Championships are. It's basically a combination of 10 European championships in 10 different para sports. And we had, the year before, we had the experience of organizing single-off world or European championships in able-bodied and para sports. And we always saw the same challenge, and we had the same challenge. That was no media attention, no public attention, remote venues, great for governments because they could check the box, but we wanted to achieve something else for parasports. And that's why we thought, why not bring all the sport together and just cooperate? And that's what we feel, especially in parasports. If you compare it with able-bodied sports, the parasport movement is very much willing to work together. The tone of voice is completely different than in able-bodied sports. It sounds a little bit soft because they are very competitive on the field of play. But afterwards there's really companionship and almost humble that you do something for them. And that's not necessary at all. There's also a challenge because the parasport movement is very fragmented. You have different IFs, that's in able-bodied sport the same, but you have IFs that have parasports included, like UCI, Para-Badminton, in the World Badminton World Federation. A good example is athletics. I mean, they're doing a great job at the European Athletics. I was just talking about it. But para-athletics is not with European athletics. It's with somewhere at the IPC. And then you have sport-specific, para-sport-specific INFs like Boccia or the Ipsos sports. A lot of different organizations, and that sometimes it makes it difficult to have everybody in the room and to work on the same objective. So that's also a challenge and a potential threat, I think. But I think if we work together more often, we can achieve more.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think what Todd just said.
Thanks. It's just thank you.
So you have, for example, the Olympics, then you have the whole machinery going on for 4 weeks. And then you have a 2 weeks break, and then you have the Paralympics. And everyone is talking about how inclusive Paralympics is and so on, but it's not, because it's excluded. So there should be an Olympic or Olympics, and it should be together, because then it's inclusion. But yeah, to be included, you need everyone to be included. So you need the able-bodied person, you need the person with disabilities. So, and it's the same like with what Marina told before with the sports club. So you have to have it in the sports club, and it's a bottom up and a top down approach. If the Olympic, if it's still okay not to have all the games together, it's still okay to have it everywhere and not together. And this is something I think should change. That I don't know how, I don't have a solution, but you can also profit from it. You know, you have all the media already there, what you said before. I think it was great in Zurich that you did it. It was I think a little bit exhausting, because to find the circles and stuff like that got a little bit exhausting, but this is something I think should change definitely, and this would be inclusive. It's not inclusive at the moment.
Thank you very much. Just before we move to the next question, I wanted to remind you, everyone, that we have a QR code on the screen. If you have questions for our speakers, please scan the QR code, and then I'll get it on the really cool iPad, and then I can ask the questions to the speakers after we finish our panel. So now I would love to move to our next question. And since we're talking a lot about combining Olympic and Paralympic sports, it would be really interesting to know actually what role technology can play in maybe connecting Paralympic and Olympic sport, or maybe what role technology can play in changing the narratives of para sports overall, because, well, it's 2025 now, and it's very different to how it was even 5 years ago, as you was saying during her keynote speech. So what do you think, what types of technology and how exactly it would change the narrative of the para sports?
Yeah, so we used in Rotterdam, we created a chip for wheelchairs to actually track the the pushes and the speed, and to create new data, and we developed the graphics for it, and so then you really see how heavy it is and how hard it is for athletes. The other thing we did is we created, and we do this for every event actually, we implement blind stands with live commentary. It's already in a lot of football stadiums, but we do it now with one-off events as well. And I think that this is also a challenge, because I'm not only here to tell about the good things, is obviously classification, which is a hot topic in para sports. And especially for the crowd that doesn't understand really para sport, you have to teach them what is happening on the field of play. And then sometimes it's hard to understand. I mean, in wheelchair tennis, the only difference is that the ball can bounce twice. That's easy. But if you need to tell the big crowd that there are 10 different categories in boccia, they really don't understand why. So you need to really educate them. It's not a bad or a good thing, but you need to educate them, because otherwise nobody will understand what's happening on the field of play.
Sure.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I think it's good.
Oh.
No.
I mean, what Zurich said is obviously for us at the Paralympics or any Paralympic competition, there's obviously the categories. That's a real challenge for the audience and for people to understand. I mean, even for myself, I don't know all of them. I know mine, it's called T63. T is for track and field, 6 is for amputee, and 3 is like the height of the amputation. Because obviously for us, like, we will never run against a blind person or a wheelchair. And even in amputations, there is different categories. So imagine, like, for the 100 meters at the Paralympics, there's like 100, I mean, no, I maybe exaggerated 100 meters, but there's a lot. Then in the Olympics, you see 100 meters women and 100 meters men, and then it's done. For us, it's not like that, so it's a real challenge for the audience. I mean, I looked at the Paralympics for France and the UK at the TV broadcasting, and they did an amazing job where they showed a figurine and they showed like the amputation, the level of it, and they explained the categories, and I think that's huge for the audience and people to understand actually what it is, because obviously, like, blind people, like, they don't understand, like, sometimes if they run with like a guide or without it, so they're confused. I mean, even me, sometimes I'm confused, so don't worry about it. And for the other part, for technology, for me, obviously I use technology, like, for my prosthetic legs, so for me I would say it's a real positive impact. But then the problem is, where do we draw the line? Obviously, we don't want to cheat, we don't want to be better than anyone else in the sense of, I mean, it would be considered doping, you know, sometimes I've had questions like that, but at the end of the day, without it, I can't run. We can't compete, we can't train. So I'm for the impact of technology in the sense of we have rules, we have strict manufacturers who know what they're doing, who are accredited by federations, the IPC, to really all be at the same level, because another thing that has been a real problem with the new technologies is the differences between the countries. Obviously, in Switzerland, we're a rich country, so for example, there's been an issue in Tokyo where the wheelchairs for the Swiss team were at the highest level possible. But if you take another team, for example, from Africa, or another team that has lower founds, the wheelchair was the basic racing wheelchair. So that's also where, in our category, we say, is there inequality in the Paralympics, in the para sports? And I think for that we have to really make rules and really apply where we can all be equal, because then again, you can see a Marcel who wins all the titles with the best technology ever, and then another athlete who has not access to that technology, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I would just add, like, a lot of good points everyone's made so far. I mean, what Annegret said with education, we've worked really hard on our TV production to work to have graphics in that explain the impairments. But of course, are they medically 100% accurate? Probably not, because we've made them more simplistic for the average audience, because that's actually who we're trying to reach out for. So it's been a unique challenge, and every year we kind of adjust that a little bit, I think, because it's working to perfection, and we're only 2 to 3 years into that project, if I'm honest. From the other technology, kind of continuing to broadcast, the cycling being, at least road cycling being an outdoor sport, 4G, 5G cameras have changed our life completely, because we can broadcast. That's such a smaller economic footprint, I guess, than before. And it's not cheap still, but it's significantly cheaper than what it used to be, and so that's what we're doing. And then, you know, just to go on what Sofia also said, our technology is crazy. In cycling, it's obviously one of the most important things, the technology of the bike, and you can see that partnerships are coming in cycling from crazy places. Airbus is working with cycling manufacturers to make custom tandems, and the list price is 100,000 euros. You know, and as we work toward that, as Sofia said again, like, we still need to work on the grassroots and people just getting into the sport and making sure that they still have an opportunity. to at least get there. And so we have to look at regulations. We have to make sure there's some structure behind that, and hopefully make sure that we're not leaving people behind because we're moving a little bit too fast, even though technology generally is a positive thing for us, I think. So.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting. And in terms of actually broadcasting, do you think it helps with sponsorships? And is it anything that federations can do, or grassroots companies to increase sponsorship opportunities for sports? Or maybe it is something that you've done in the past that helped you to secure more partnerships with brands?
I mean, well, you don't have sponsors without visibility, and so broadcast is a pretty critical element. So being able to make it easier to do, cheaper to do, of course, is a key aspect of parasport. I mean, the partnering that we did with our events helped to share resources and, of course, give additional opportunities to it. I think we're at that breaking point now. Like, I know Eric's working on some things like this too, and you know, parasport isn't the only thing that's struggling every 4 years to get visibility and to have their space in cut up the pie. I think there's lots of sports in the Olympics side who still struggle with this too, and so we're all competing a little bit with them, but we're trying to work together as one still to get to that point. And affordability, opportunity, just growing from there is probably the key to then build sponsorships off of there, and there is interest and it's growing for sure.
It's also a little bit the chicken and the egg story, obviously, because I think it all starts with grassroots, but therefore you need also role models, and for role model you need exposure. And therefore you need good events, because otherwise a broadcaster is not interested at all. So obviously we need broadcast, we need exposure. We also did a partnership with TikTok in Rotterdam, which creates, the event took 13 days. Every day we selected one sport to broadcast live on TikTok. And on goalball, and that, I don't know if you guys know what goalball is. I see you linking, Maggie. We had 400,000 viewers live on goalball, which is a really small sport. And the comments were really great. So you also need to be a little bit creative. But yeah, you need to invest in broadcast. To come back to what I said a couple of minutes ago, if you combine strengths, you become bigger. And nobody actually was interested in single off European championships in aerosports, to be quite honest, because it's too expensive to send a cameraman to whatever country. And if you combine them, it's easier for them to come over and to report about the different fellow countrymen and countrywomen in specific sports. And you become more important for a partner like EBU, so the European Broadcasting Union, because they have to do something. And now you deliver a good product, and then you can create exposure, which also makes it easier for people like an athlete to create even more sponsorship for her or himself. So it's a little bit a snowball that we need to push a little bit harder.
So for broadcasting, when we did the first Cybathlon in 2016, SF, so the Swiss German, they made a whole day. They were doing the whole broadcasting. They were producing the event. They didn't want to do that in 2020. So, but we already had partners who insisted of the broadcasting, of course. So what we needed to do in 2020, we needed to pay for our own production. So we needed to find a broadcaster and to create the whole TV show by ourselves, so that SAF or SRG can just take the signal or. So And then we had COVID, and then we had to come out with a new version of a TV production, what we did. We created our own live streams, we did the whole production by ourselves, just to create the visibility for our sponsors and for the research teams and the people with disabilities. But that is so much money you have to spend. I mean, we were lucky that we had funding from ETH Zurich and or that were ETH Zurich. But if you are a profit or commercially dependent association or something, this is really hard. So you really need something or a broadcaster to do it. So this is one thing that is the main issue for parasports. And again, you need some connection to other things that you can profit or cross-profit from.
Thank you very much. And the next question is kind of related to this one as well. But what partnerships that you activated already in the past that you think were very successful in the parasports? Or maybe you've heard about some examples in other sports and you would like to share with. So maybe Sofia, you know something that you saw maybe partnerships between an athlete and the brand, and that we can get on the partnerships between the companies and federations.
Can I just add a little thing on broadcasting? So for me, just a little experience I had in Tokyo. Obviously there was COVID, so RTS and SRF, or the live broadcasting for Switzerland, we're really struggling. I mean, it's far, it's expensive, and let's be honest, Paralympics are less interesting than Olympics for those broadcasting because it's really expensive. And I remember them telling me, because they know I speak 5 languages, so I was really attracted to like the different broadcasting, because we obviously speak 4 languages in Switzerland, so they each had the different broadcasters, and I was really excited that they asked me to do the interviews, but at the end, when I arrived at Tokyo, unfortunately there was only one interviewer there for the RTS, so I was quite sad about that, obviously also for the impact on it for us as athletes. I mean, I think obviously costs a lot of money, but if we can invest in that, maybe for us it makes a real impact. And the first thing is obviously people who look, and if people look and watch, there will be more money put in that. And maybe if they don't find the funds, there's other alternatives, as Eric said, TikTok, the live streams. I mean, those are really like the important things to just broadcast it and show it. And for the other, can you repeat it? Sorry.
About partnerships?
Yes, so partnerships, I mean, for me the big partnerships I saw are, for example, L'Oreal with one of the athletes called Bebe Vio. She's an Italian Paralympic fencer. She's amazing. She's 4 times amputee, so quite rich, like both arms and legs, so imagine. And she's a real, like, for me, she's one of the biggest role models in the Paralympics. And for me, like big brands like L'Oreal, who showcase someone as amputee who usually in society would be seen as not pretty or not normal, and is broadcasted with L'Oreal, one of the biggest brands for cosmetic and beauty, and shown as, wow, she's an amazing woman, she's beautiful, she's out there, she's being also shown in social media, in the media, and can really impact. I mean, for me as a woman, it was really impactful, and I think about children and young girls, and even Sofia as a young girl, I would have never imagined seeing myself beautiful with a prosthetic leg and with a disability. So I think those partnerships are really important for us as para-athletes.
Thank you.
Sure. Well, I mean, other partnerships that have been successful, I think, probably the most famous para-athlete right now, the most marketable, I think, would be Marcel Hu. He's probably up there as one of the best. He's named the Swiss Silver Bullet, but I remember his Allianz sticker everywhere, basically, from all my time. So that one certainly has hit. And Allianz certainly has been a pretty big partner of parasport overall, I think. There's some other places like Toyota, maybe an American, I think they were one of the first people ever to do a Super Bowl commercial that focused on parasport as well, and only parasport. The curious case is that was kind of just a one-off. Where does it go from there? How do they carry it off? And certainly Toyota has been a big partner of parasports overall historically, but now they've left the IOC, they've left the IPC, and so what their next thing is, I know they're working on things, but I don't think it's super out there yet. And then, it's more on an athlete side. I think successful partnerships, so similar to that. I mean, we'll see where it goes with the legacy from Paris and France, but we had a cyclist, Marie Patier, who was sponsored by Dior, and certainly they made her the face of kind of the marketing product from the Paris side. They did things for the Olympics and the Paralympics, of course, and that was pretty successful, and I think she was one of the better stories overall from her advocacy for para-athletes, but also LGBTQ rights and things in Paris. That was just fantastic, and I think it was a really home run for Dior there too.
Thank you.
Would you like to?
Well, I think we just heard that the Swiss wheelchair open. I think it's important that we, from an event perspective, because that's where I'm coming from. I think it's important that for us as an organizer, the event itself is a goal. But I think you have to see an event for all the other stakeholders. So for a municipality, for a region, for a national government, for a commercial partner, or even an athlete. They can use the event to reach their own goals. And if you understand that, you can make it a success for everybody, because the athlete is not really interested in the economic impact of the event. He or she is busy with his achievement and to win that medal. And a municipality or a commercial partner, he wants to tick the box, or he wants to organize meetings or seminars with a small link to parasports, because it's inspiring. And if you think about that all the time, I think you can create something successful for all stakeholders.
Yeah, our sponsors or supporters are a little bit different to parasport, because so we use the competition to accelerate the development of assistive technology. So, but yeah, it was also really hard for us to find sponsors or strategic partners. So they never knew if this is now corporate social responsibility or marketing, or if they want to use the content to do public relation, or if they want to have event visibility, or if they want to support a team. So most of the time they got so much in struggle, so what they want to support that they didn't support in the end. This was really hard for us.
Yes, too.
Thank you very much. And I think another really interesting topic in the partnerships kind of side is how to make them long-term, how to make them actually strategic partners, as you said, rather than just one-off sponsors. Do you have any views or comments from your experience what would make partnerships more like a long-term partnership rather than one-off event sponsorship, or like one season of an athletic sponsorship? Who would like to?
I can start from our perspective. And so, of course, because of the technology, we had, for example, Maxim Motors as one of our main sponsors, because for them it's interesting to sell their motors to the technicians. Or we had the Swiss Paraplegic Foundation to support us because for obvious reasons. And what they used, and I think that is also a possibility for the parasport, is that they use this fascination about the technology and how that works and how you can be what you can do or what in future you could do. So when I can use you as an example, you participated with your daily Ottobock prosthesis, which is one of the best prostheses in the world, which you said before only a few people in the world can buy and use. And it's still not good, because, as you said, if I don't charge it overnight, I don't have a leg the next day. So, and this is something sponsors or strategic partner can use, that they support tech for good, or that they tell the stories. And what we did was not telling only about the technology, but also raise awareness about the disability. So we really explained the disability. What does it mean when I don't have a knee? Because it's much easier, and that's not, it's still challenging, to have a prosthesis below the knee than above the knee. Because to rebuild a knee, or to use a knee with a prosthesis, I think you know how this is very, very challenging. And for every person it's different, because you have different types of the amputee. So this is just leg prosthesis. You have a million different disabilities. So this is something sponsors or strategic partners or long-time partners who really can use, not in a way that informs people. And I think if you go one step back, you have the challenges Sofia was talking about are reflected in daily life of people with disabilities, because you don't only have the technology in sports, you have the technology in everyday life to support you. So you need it every day to live your life, to be independent, and to work, to go to school, to go to sport. And I think this is something you can take also from parasport to talk about it. And I think Sebastian said it with the multiplicators. You can be an ambassador for it, and your company can be it. And I think this is something that should change in parasport, that you really inform people, that they know, that they watch, that they know what happens when I'm having an accident, and what organs are, what changes in my body, and that we don't have that distance anymore, but understand each other. And I think that is very, very important for companies, for the whole society, for all of us.
Thank you.
I totally agree, obviously. But guys, 15% of the world population has a disability.
Yeah.
There was a campaign of IPC, we are the 15. So we are all the same, a disability or not. And I have a disability as well, but you cannot see it. I was a little bit nervous before we started this conversation. But 15% of the world population, so this means it's a big market share also for companies like Coca-Cola or car manufacturers, or of course the first reaction of people is sponsorship. We have to go to Ottobock, or we have to go to whatever medical repair service. But that's such a small niche market. I don't think we can find the big money there. I think we can find the money with the big companies. But then we have to work together, obviously. I'm coming back to what I said earlier on. Ottobock is also the sponsor of our event, and they're doing a great job. And they make the event better. They create a customer journey for the athlete, and if the athlete is happy, he communicates in a happy way and in a good way about the event, and that's what we want as an event organizer. But in the end, new money needs to come in parasport, in the parasport world, in the parasport movement, and the new money is not coming from the Ottobock of this world, I think. So I think there is a job for us all to to see if we can make it happen to attract more global brands into parasports.
Yeah, I'll go. I mean, yeah, creativity, thinking differently for sure is probably one of the keys. I think you can think of it as opportunities, and you know, there's probably two parts to it. Like I can give an example from the UCI. One of our sponsors is Shimano, and they are, you know, bicycle parts manufacturer, wheels, things like that, and they provide neutral service for us at the championships as well. You know, just by chance, they've actually had some of their best engagement from paracycling because we've allowed them to be more creative, allowed them to take more chances. We put people in their cars, we put videographers in their cars, and when there's an accident, there's a person running out there with a chest GoPro on, filming their action, flipping the athlete back onto their bike, fixing whatever it is, and putting them on their way. And Shimano has used that as an opportunity to show what they're doing, but also in the parasport aspect, promote the parasport there. Then I think like just general opportunities too. You know, there's bigger reach with parasport potentially because at the UCI I award 101 world championships per year, and so we have the ability. It's a lot, and there's challenges with that too, but there's opportunities, and so maybe to attract that new money that Eric's talking about, organizations, companies maybe don't invest big sums into one person or into one event, but they can use those different opportunities of those 101 world champions to reach out to the key markets and put a little bit into each area that of course goes to the athlete, then goes to the region, and can build some national pride in those athletes who are world champions and who are performing quite highly at their level in each one of those nations. And so providing a more targeted approach to that sponsorship, which is still one big, say, X brand, but reaches out with different people and different opportunities where it makes sense in the world too. And of course that hopefully trickles down to the athletes as well too, which is our goal as well.
Yes, thank you so much. And I actually wanted to add to this point, just from the agency perspective as well, that we really struggle with, and I really struggle finding brands who would want to invest in parasports. And most of communications that I see now is that people say, well, what is the KPI? What is the KPI? What financially I will gain from it? So, and without the broadcast, on most of the sports, it's a little bit difficult to show the KPIs. But all this stats that I started this panel with, that 65% engagement from Gen Z, 23% more purchase intent when seeing parasports commercial, it's actually really compelling data. And what we found as an agency that works with brands, when we start communicating to brands, is trying to explain to them that, well, you don't need to go big straight away. You don't have to invest hundreds of thousands straight away, but you can do a little pilot program. Little pilot program will not hurt your budget straight away. You can invest whatever you can spare, 5K, 10K, 15K, 30 for somebody, and then you see whether it works or not. That's what we started doing with women's sports, because the agency MATTA works with women's sports as well, and that's how, for example, recently we did a campaign with Clinic and women rugby. It was a grassroots initiative, and they really liked it, and now they're doing it on a world scale. So started from UK, now doing the world scale. So I think, and I hope with parasports we can try to do something similar and try to inspire brands like Shimano or some maybe not specific sport brands, but maybe Coca-Cola or maybe other brands to invest in smaller competitions and then just see what they potentially can gain from a small competition and see whether they're gonna see the results and some KPIs with media exposure, and hopefully it will encourage more people to invest in parasports, because it should start somewhere. It should. So sorry. Just to sidetracking. And another question that I wanted to ask, and we kind of talked about it already, is about, not only about streaming but also other technologies. But is it anything that we can see from the fan engagement as well that would be actually helping with parasports? Any technologies or any initiatives that you've done in the past to get more people into the events and get more people interested in para sports?
Yeah, well, what we did, not only the European Para Championship, but I'm coming back on that because what we did there is that we just sold tickets for €5 or €7.50, I can't even remember, and that people were able to just hop from one sport to the other. And I know athletics is a big sport, one of the big five. I think wheelchair basketball is also one of them. And there were big crowds. But at Logacheva, at goalball, some smaller sports in Paralympian, nobody knew them actually, at least not in the Netherlands. And now people had the opportunity during a break in wheelchair basketball to go and support the Dutch team or the Spanish team or the Portuguese team. And they really, the reaction we got was that they were thinking it was great to see, for them, a relatively new sport and to support it in the future. We also work with a ticket company already for I think 10 or 12 years to create and develop a database of people who are interested in parasport. Not only people with a disability that love parasport, but also able-bodied people that love parasport. So a couple of weeks ago we did as a single-off event the European Wheelchair Rugby Championships in The Hague. And we already see that people from the European Para Championships in 2023 visit this event because we can target them and so we can create a sort of a big target group that's interested in parasports, which is great. So yeah, maybe that's an example.
Anxious.
Yeah, what we did so for people that so we had kind of two competitions, one online. It's a little bit hard to explain. It takes a long time, but yeah, we had online a multi-hub competition in the hall, event hall. So what we did was we created basic technology that people could try out and understand how all the technology works and how it works with the pilot or with the athlete together, and different kind of fun activities there. And so because all the disciplines we have in the Cybathlon are quite as you said, also in the parasport, quite hard to explain, and the rules are hard to explain, and what kind of technology it is. And we created an AI for a low latency stream, is it called? So that you have a website you can visit in different languages, in sign language and also in audio description. And you have the TV stream with the co-commentator and commentator in almost real time in the hall, that you can get all the explanation what is going on the different competitions, what the technology is, what the pilot is doing, who is, and you can just listen to it. This is what we did, and it's accessible also for people with hearing impairments and it's for blind people. That's very interesting. Thank you.
Good. I think because I mean it's similar to what you said. Like there's creativity, and we've mentioned 15% of the people of the population have an impairment in the world. Believe it or not, actually Switzerland even lists the number at 20% on their government website. So it's a large population in Switzerland. You're looking at 1 out of 5 people, and you can use that technology to engage new fans, whatever the sport is, and not just in parasport. I think too. Making technology that's inclusive or allows to grab those people who would struggle to, say, understand cycling or understand rugby or understand anything that they may be interested. All of a sudden, they're going to be interested because they have the opportunity to watch that sport, be a part of that sport, to do something. And so there's a lot of opportunities, and we certainly see at the Olympics, World Cup, Paralympics, obviously, two major events that it's there, but it needs to trickle down to all the other kind of medium level sports events, whether it be, you know, Swiss Hockey League, whether it be Bundesliga, whether it be Premier League, other places like that, and have it more regular on an everyday basis.
Thank you. So thank you so much. That was the end of our second panel, but we have two more questions from the audience. So I'll just read it out and you guys choose who would like to answer. In your mind, of you, what is the biggest challenge in organizing parasport events? Hers. Sorry.
So many.
The same challenges as every other event, probably to start with, but then, you know, there's small things like, well, it's not small, I guess, but it's things that you wouldn't even think about. You know, the last event when I worked at the IPC before I moved to the UCI was the World Parathletics Championships in Dubai, and that was 1,500 athletes with impairment. There's no hotel that has 1,500 fully accessible rooms anywhere. You know, that's just counting athletes. That's not counting their coaches, team officials, anyone else who goes with them at that level. So, you know, the transportation then goes with it, and you know, those aren't big challenges. It's just you have to be prepared for them. You have to think in advance. You can't just start from scratch or take the plan that from a non-para event and carry it over immediately. There has to be a little bit of thought. Ramps to go over curbs, making sure all your cables are covered. Just small little things like that are critical for para events to make sure they're safe, on top of accessible, easy to do, you know, good experiences from there, I think. So.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, for me, Todd organized my World Championships in Dubai, so you did a great job. For us as athletes, I mean, the important thing is obviously accessibility, not only for us, but I mean, our audience or the people who come watch are sometimes disabled as well. So that's really important for us. Obviously, I mean, for me, what I always try to say to the federation and to my team is, the athlete is the main focus, and then there's a whole team around it. And the athlete really needs to be the center of it, because we perform, and there's so many factors that can obviously disrupt our competition. I mean, for me, it's kind of crazy. I go for a 100-meter sprint, and I only have a tenth of a second. So if I miss that mark, I traveled, I don't know, I mean, Dubai was quite far, so that's crazy. I mean, even Tokyo, I was so scared that I could miss that mark, and then you traveled all that way, all that preparation, all that team effort, all that obviously organization from the federations, and I think there's so many people around it, and obviously my dream would be that there's more people who would be around it and motivated to obviously help our sports and federations. So that would be my little hey, help us more. But yeah, so that's what my dream is only future help more, and yeah.
I think the challenge is a little bit vision, and also the challenge is governance. So if you want to do big events, you need a government, whether it's local, regional or national. And maybe you've heard once every 4 years there are elections, or sometimes even more often. And sometimes things can change over a year time. And big events do take a lot of time to prepare. So you need, in some moment, you need to go for an event. For example, football championships and athletics, I'm sure you not come up with a host 6 months before, because then there's no time to organize. Maybe you can execute the event well, but that's also a little bit a pity, because then you cannot use the event as a platform to engage new target groups, organize side events or whatever. So I think that structure, and we cannot change that, I'm afraid. But that's a challenge. That's really a challenge.
Yeah, I think all things that have been said before. You need a venue you can rebuild. because of all the things you have to ramps, wheelchair stands. So you really need to find, as I said, governments, venues, locations that are flexible, that are changing things on short notice, because otherwise, as you said, people can really not attend. There have to be accessible things that they can attend, and you have to make it possible. You have to go the extra mile. You have to have visions, and you have to have solutions, because otherwise it's not going to happen. So this is back to inclusion. You need to want to include people, and you need to want to do it, and then it happens. But if you have people shutting down the walls, it's not going to happen.
Thank you very much. And actually, we have a question specifically for Todd, but I think it would be really useful if both Todd and Eric could answer. What are the benefits of organizing para sports, so paracycling and cycling events together, and what other sports can learn from it? But I think, Eric, you could also answer this question because you organize different events under one roof. So what other sports can learn from having different events for disabled and more disabled people organized together?
So able-bodied and parasport together, or
Any combined for us?
any combined event? Well, for example, in 2023 we had a couple, VIs, so it's visual impairments. We tried to do some kind of economy of scale. So I don't know if you guys know what classification is, but in a lot of sports, an athlete needs to be classified before he can run into a competition, and in the big events normally it takes place a day or 2 days before the competition starts. So an IF sends classifiers, and we try to have classifiers. So then you need in blind sports like goalball or even archery. There's also a VI category. We hired the let's say machinery to classify these athletes, and we just hired classifiers to do all the different sports for VIs. So I think you can profit from that. But we also experienced that some IFs, they don't have really a lot of experience in, for example, VI. So in 2019 we did the Archery World Championships in the Netherlands, and we combined it with the Para Archery World Championships. So back to back. And VI was a little bit new for World Archery. And we had the experience of organizing the UCI Paracycling Road World Championships and track as well. I think Todd came a little bit later, but so we actually used the classifiers of UCI for archery. So I think also IFs can really learn from each other, and it's just working together in combined strengths again. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, we've actually been doing that a lot too for other sports. We did the same thing in Zurich, actually. On top of our combined aspect of para, non-para championships, actually we did classification with skiing at the same time there too, because it saved everybody money and it made sense for us because we were going to invest in it no matter what at that time. The benefits to combined championships, from a para, non-para standpoint, and what federations could learn. I mean, the clear aspect that we learned is that it could jumpstart the visibility of para much quicker with minimal additional resources. And so that was the opportunity that we took, of course, in Glasgow and Zurich. And it's carried over to, we'll be again part of that championship in 2027 as the All Cycling Championships. And we've also started to receive bids for the future now of integrated para championships. And so 2030 has already been awarded to Australia, who will have para and non-para track championships as one event for the first time outside of these combined championships. And I do anticipate that will probably continue. It needs to sometimes be organized or led, but UCI is trying to push that as well. So that's an opportunity for federations too. I don't know if it's the best every single time. Every federation probably needs to look at their own goals and strategy and what it may be, because I've done para-athletics in the past too, and certainly, a single sport championship in athletics in London in 2017 was selling 30 to 40,000 tickets every night, was being broadcast on Channel 4 and many other. We had roughly 30 nations who were taking live coverage, another 80 or so nations who were taking clips and things. And so, every probably federation has to look where the benefits, where the negatives, where the positives are, and make sure that they're maximizing the resources, of course, too. But if you have nothing in a federation, it certainly is an opportunity to jumpstart that really fast if you want to use that opportunity, definitely.
Thank you so much. Working together always better than working in solo. So that was the end of our panel 2. Big applause for